According to the United Nations, between the year 2000 and 2010, deforestation in Kenya's water catchment areas amounted to an estimated 50,000 hectares, leading to reduced water availability of approximately 62 million cubic meters per year. Kenya's economy is highly dependent on water availability.
So when we destroy our water towers, we'll have less generated and we'll have to rely on emergency power, and it's pretty expensive.
Deforestation is indirectly robbing the country the prospects of being a competitive economic player in the continent, as our production costs are currently some of the highest in Africa.
Our key competitors, the electricity cost ranges from as low as 4 US cents to as high as 6-8 US cents. So you can imagine at 18 US cents we are 3 times in terms of cost.
Locally, these costs must then be transferred to the consumer. That tree in the forest directly affects your life. Hi, welcome to Project Green. I'm Esther. Now I'm at the Viewpoint, which is one of the most popular tourist stopovers and also one of the many areas that showcase the true beauty of this country. Now, right at the back there is Kijabe Forest, which is one of the forest strips that join up together to form the Kikuyu Escarpment Forest. Let's go there and find out what's going on. Kijabe Forest Strip was once carpeted by mainly red cedar and African olive trees, but now even the remainder faces a bleak future due to the encroachment of farmlands up the escarpment, wood fuel, and of course, illegal logging.
Hi Esther.
Hey Craig, how are you? Thank you. Craig Soley from Care of Creation in Kijabe Mission is a tree conservationist.
Cedar posts are used for...
Cedar posts are the most popular fence post in Kenya because they are termite resistant, they are rot resistant, and they can last up to 100 years in the ground after you put them in. So they're very, very popular for fence building.
Not only does a forest act as an important carbon sink, it also helps maintain the ecological biodiversity of an area, and that is gradually being threatened in this place.
The deforestation kind of began there and moved this way, and it's moved all the way down. Now we have a little section here, but remember the picture I showed you this morning of that wide landscape? If we were to go down into Mai Maihu and look, you could see that broad landscape that's completely denuded. So this is one of the stream beds that comes out of the escarpment here. And now you can see here in Kijabe, because of the deforestation on the hills up there, this stream bed is completely empty.
In 2012 and again in 2013, Kijabe experienced mudslides which greatly affected the area, paralyzing businesses and even knocking out the water supply for the town, which happens to host one of Kenya's largest missionary hospital. It also engulfed homes and schools and huge sections of the Kijabe railway track.
Well, what happened was this area used to be covered in vegetation and trees. And that night, because of the mudslides in the forest, it came down here with such a rush that it took out this entire fence. It's since been rebuilt. I don't know how much money that's worth or how much concrete it weighs, how much it weighs, but it's a lot.
I can see all these, huge tree stumps. Did that come with the mud as well?
Yes, it was carried down from at least a few hundred meters away. Yeah, huge trees. These have been cut up so the stumps were attached to the tree.
So you can see right behind me, that's another path where the mudslide hit and came down the railroad track, tearing off some parts of it and going down into the escarpment. They've just only started building gabions.
For one couple that lives down the escarpment, it was a night that would change their lives forever. 3 of their children were buried alive by the mudslides while they slept. None of them survived.
Na mzee wako alikwenda kutuita, alikuja, tulikuwa kumemomoka, watoto 3 waliumia.
Kulinyesha mvua kubwa kama masaa 4 hivi, mimi nikasikia uoga, nikatoka nje.
Kubomolewa hii yote ikakuja ikabeba ikafunika nyumba hivi karara hivi.
Part of the house that caved in because of the mudslide. Hii ilikuwa yenyu hizi? Hizi zilikuwa zenyu? Blankets, mattresses, clothes. This place was completely inundated by the landslide here. It's just such a horrific experience.
There is no need for the government to show sympathy by bringing coffins to people after their children are buried by landslides. Why? They are doing nothing. The government is doing nothing to stop this destruction.
Were the landslides caused by deforestation? I don't think we can really know how much deforestation contributed to that, but I think the gashes within the forest along the steeper parts of this escarpment probably enabled that landslide event to happen more quickly than it would have if the forest was completely intact.
Unfortunately, some of the people suffering the worst effects of deforestation may not know the possible link between the forest and their lives. Plenty of firewood harvested from the forest can be seen stacked outside their houses.
Wacha nikwambie, mimi nilikata hiyo post tunasema na punda. Nilipelekwa
na nani?
Na forest.
Ile nzuri ni?
Ni radisida, inaitwa radisida. Inakuanga huko Kijabi.
Is there deforestation happening in the Kijabi forest?
Right, we see as a manager, there are no destruction happening in Kijabi. What is happening is what we call poaching. And poaching means there are some people coming from the community who come at night, cut 1 or 2 cedar trees, then they split it into post and they move out.
Is there deforestation in Kijabi Forest? Absolutely. During the month of June, we had a team of people marking stumps within the forest, and they marked more than 10,000 stumps. Some of those stumps were very recently cut within the past month or 2, and others of those stumps were cut maybe 1 to 1.5 to 2 years ago.
A 30-minute hike inside the forest reveals evidence of systematic destruction of trees. On just one of the trails inside the forest, we were able to count 64 tree stumps and 10 charcoal kilns.
If nothing is done, what happened last time was just an appetizer. Sooner or later, every person here might be buried by the landslides and some logs coming from up the hill.
That's just a snapshot of deforestation in Kenya. The fact is, it is rampant. But what really are the root causes, and what can we do to check them? Let's join Dan as he discusses this further on Green Talk. Over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Esther. Clearly, the problem of deforestation in Kenya is one that will just not go away despite efforts from various quarters and numerous awareness campaigns by environmentalists to stop it. Well, here to take on the challenge of how we can make forests profitable, alive than dead, we have Oscar Simanto from the Kenya Forest Service, Elias Kimaru from the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, and Gerald Ngatia from the National Alliance Community Forest Association, NACOFA. All right, we'll start straight away with you, Oscar. Why do you think that the policy on forest management in Kenya has failed so miserably?
There is a clear link between poverty and deforestation. And that clear link, if it is not handled, then definitely fighting for deforestation across the country will be a mirage.
All right, but you know, it's about the policy. That's what manages the whole thing in the country. Elias, is enough being done to enforce that policy, or is it flawed?
It's very good, but it's a very long process before that community can get that benefit. For example, community have to form community forest association. After forming community forest association, which is registered by the Attorney General, you have to develop a management plan for that forest, because the law says you must have a management plan. The process of developing a management plan is very technical and expensive, so the community cannot, unless there is a donor come to support them to do that. Two, after developing the management plan, you have to develop forest management agreement with the Kenya Forest Service for you to be allowed to directly benefit and share benefit to the Kenya Forest Service.
Okay, so just looking forward, you know, are you hearing the cries of, you know, the people who are actually in the community trying to get the benefit of conserving the forest? You know, what they would say is, you know, cut down a tree and save a life. That's what they would say. How can you make this work for them?
We were able to bring on board over 700 members from community forest associations within Kericho, and those members joined the groups. They went through a season-long training. That training has changed the perceptions of conservation in Kericho. And the most innovative part of that project, what we did, was to set money aside, a fund, where the communities can access money to go and upscale what they have learned from the season-long training. So we have now groups investing money in beekeeping. We have groups investing money in dairy keeping. We have groups investing money in crop production. We have groups investing money in fish farming within Kericho, and we have groups investing money in woodlots establishment within their own farms.
The initiative in Kericho is good and need to be implicated elsewhere, but also look at the now value adding and the market for the product, because what you realized is community will produce that honey and then we come ask you, where do you sell this honey? So we have to link them to the markets and other enterprises. The other thing that maybe if I quickly add, as a country, and that's why maybe issues of forestry are not as sensitive as we talk wildlife or elephant, is because many people see forest as free resource. When you take your goat or your cattle to stream to drink water, who do you pay? They take water, you drink water, you go home. So but that water is coming from an area that is protected, that needs to be protected. So when the person is cutting that tree, he's not thinking the link with that water that is the cattle or agriculture. And that's why it was the late Wangari Maathai professor who said the main problem, and I think he mentioned to that, is that our leaders, our politicians, and even our planners, the link between poverty and degradation is very remote. People get to say, I cut that tree, I save my life. But when you cut that tree, you are destroying your children and your children's future.
Countries like Norway have opted to pay countries like Brazil billions of dollars to prevent them from cutting down the Amazon. What do you think about this kind of approach, where there's some money that is awarded, and it goes into the debate on carbon credits, carbon trading?
The carbon market is there. It's so good, but it's only paying 1 shilling and 50 cents per tree per year. Okay. So if I have 1,000 trees, that's 1,500. So is that enough? If I value, I cut that tree, get some charcoal out of it. 1 bag of charcoal is going at 400 shillings. So the options, what are the options? So it's conservation versus a livelihood.
That is one approach. But when you look at the policy environment within the country, and you ask the commercial banks, for example, how many banks will give money for tree planting, for example? None. How many banks will give money for conservation efforts? None. When you look at the people who benefit more from the forests, they are the urbanites, isn't it? The factories in the urban areas, the middle class in the urban areas. We need all the water. You spend more, you use more water than your mother in the rural areas, isn't it? I don't know. But my thinking is that we have to pay back for those people conserving the catchments.
Okay, so just as we close the discussion, the good if you'd like to see some policy that has an immediate effect and can solve this problem, what's that one thing that you'd like to see?
You can stop the axe from cutting simply by starting a beekeeping project and ensuring the honey goes to the market. Right. It is very simple. Having a bursary fund for that kid, so that that man does not burn that charcoal. He knows his kid will go to school because there is a bursary fund taking care of it.
Actually, the fund is already opened, and we have deposited inside that fund $25,000 US, so that we can start fundraising for that fund. Yeah.
And I think Gatia is not, particularly
and the framework,
by the figure of $25,000.
It's little, but we have put seed money inside, so that any interested stakeholder will be able to put money. The framework for it has been developed by a consultant, how we are going to manage the fund. So when it gets our approval, that fund will be hitting the ground, and we hope that the government will put money into it, because it's a very important fund for what Ngati is talking about.
And I think on that note, I think we've more or less covered the topic. I'm afraid we'll have to end our discussion there for today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being on Green Talk.
Thank you.
We're going on a break right now, but when we return, we meet Kenya and Helen Mutiso, award-winning forest conservationists who are revolutionizing Siosambu in Nakuru, one indigenous tree at a time. Meet them after the break.
My name is Helen Thornton Mutiso. I'm a director and a co-owner of African Forest, which is a social enterprise of holistic forestry.
My name is Kenya. I'm head of operations, I believe, here at African Forest. My interest in forest probably started maybe 15 years ago. Just as they introduced these new clonal eucalypts to the market, I took an initiative and I bought 1,000 of them and I planted them in Karen. And with the growth rates I started getting within the way they grew in the first 2 years, I decided to leave my other job and go into forestry as a business venture. By the time I met Helen, I had established a tree nursery with about probably 30,000 pieces. Not too many species of African indigenous trees. Here on Siosambu, it's mostly acacia woodland, the Naivasha thorn woodland. So now we've introduced trees which I believe some of them used to be here before and had been removed for farming purposes, maybe by the landowners. My interest in the indigenous tree was the multi-benefits you can get out of it, medicines, gums, dyes, apart from the timber and firewood aspect of it.
We started the company in 2006 on the tenets of the people, planet and profit. So everything we do it's a for-profit company because we believe if you don't make a profit, something's not sustainable. Everything must benefit also people and local communities and also the planet and the environment. Most people in Kenya see trees as kuni, makaa and mbao. And there's so many things you can make from trees, from medicines, cosmetics, oils, fruit. There's lots of nice indigenous fruit, all sorts of foodstuffs. You can literally eat. You could live off the forest and eat the forest. Prunus africana, which is the dried leaves. This is a vascular dilator. So basically, when you take this, it dilates the blood vessels, which allows more oxygen to flow to the cells, which keeps your cells healthy, stops you from getting cancer and things like that. But it also reduces blood pressure. Over here, This is a Warburgia ugandensis or Mathiga tree. This is now, again, about just under 2 years old, so it's done 1 metre a year. And this is the one we now use the fruit from to make the natural antibiotic. But you can also eat the leaves. They're very hot, it's like chili. So if you run out of chili, you can also use this in your kachumbari.
And it's dawa.
And it's medicine as you're eating it.
This is what makes that lovely drink that ladies like called amarula. It grows in Kenya also. So we could also be making Kenyan amarula. We came up with a methodology called planet positive forestry, which is this intercropping methodology. In the planet positive forestry model, you're getting much better growth rates for the different variety of trees than you're getting in the monoculture eucalyptus. Okay. So we expect from this, let's take for example in this stand, you should be able to harvest within, I would hope, within a year or a year and a half, we should be able to harvest at least per hectare 1,600 fencing posts and scaffolding posts.
Now is the Acacia siberiana, which is a very nice tool. We've done a small project already, which started about 2 years ago with sponsorship from Rufford Small Grants for Conservation. So the project at the time was just, it was relatively small. We just trained the Ranger Scouts, and we've got about 3 or 4 of them now who go out collecting seed for us. And we set up a small seed centre. So we built a drying rack. We got pots to store the seed in. We also got scales and various equipment so that we're able to process the seed better. I was made a Total Eco Challenge Tree Ambassador in 2007. Then in 2008 we won a Bronze Award for the Eco Challenge. 2009 we won a Silver Award, and then Kenya was made a Tree Ambassador in 2010. So we haven't had anything for, haven't had any awards for a couple of years, but we'd prefer to get the money for the seed centre than an award. So the legacy I'd like to leave is for people to understand and for people to be making money from the forest in a sustainable way.
My message to Kenyans would be plant a tree. The best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago.
My take on the forest cover, I mean, last I checked, it was from 3% to 4%. Of course, that's not ideal forest cover the way, I mean, it's supposed to be more than 10%. Why we should care about forest? Because it's our survival. When there is no forest cover, there is soil erosion, there is no predictable weather patterns. As much as we plant forests and put trees up, we also need to know how to use things sustainably. This time when you're going to farm, you're not just going to go and pour water. You know, you're going to use drip irrigation to use less. The effects of climate change and low forest cover it's evident everywhere. So it's upon us, I think, to go out of our way and start pushing for this agenda. It has to go beyond their campaigns and banners and t-shirts. Yeah, ni aji wazee ni Juliani, tetea and take care of your environment. Conserve the forest house here.
Naitwa Katunga. Sasa mimi nafanya hii kazi ya mbao. Sasa mnasema tukiendelea na kutengeneza hizi vitu tukotemea mbao, miti itaharibika. Kuna njia nyingine tutaweza kutumia.
Of course there are alternatives of use other than the hardwood, and this is where now bamboo comes in. Yeah, it is strong. Even they say, the research says it's even better than the hardwood.
A tree like this one takes an average of 50 years to grow to its mature state, but only less than 5 minutes to bring it down, and all for short-term gain. Our future and that of our children is inextricably linked to forests. Let's protect them. See you next week on Project Green.
Olea capensis, subspecies Hochstetcheri.
Also drying up or not?
It will, yeah. Oh, be real careful.
And the toy. Pat.
It's a medicinal tree. They use the bark.
Spicy.
Spicy, yeah, you put it in curries.
So this is another point of the railroad track where the mudslide hit and sort of washed out part of the railroad and tore off another, I don't know what I've said. And if it makes sense.